Mini Jake, the tribe has spoken.
Fuck you, Kevin.
Aw, fuck you too, sweetie.
I'm JJ, one of the original Tribe of Nerds members. You can catch me on Marvel, Pokemon, and other gaming podcasts.
What up? It's Josh, resident superhero nerd, but I also dabble in the occasional super villain as well.
Some may know me as the Chaos Gremlin, but really I'm just Joe King.
Pikachu, use Volt Tackle! Good job, Pikachu!
On the Tribe of Nerds.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. Survivor 1 through 50, we're back for episode 9, all about Survivor Vanuatu. Michael, Austin, Joe, and I are here to talk about the last man standing, because we're here to hype up Chris Dougherty, even though Kevin is going to argue against it when he watches this. But
he's not here.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
But yeah, we'll talk about all the men versus women stuff. The second time men versus women has been done in Survivor history. So close to the Amazon as well, only 3 seasons after. But so why did you guys want to discuss Survivor Vanuatu?
This was a season I really enjoyed. I'm just a fan of an underdog. No matter anything where it's like, you know where this is going, and then someone manages to come back and actually make a run of it. I was like, oh shit, he's actually sticking around. And then over the years, I just think it's a really good character piece. It's a really good show of like dynamics between people, and also like a season that breaks the stereotypes of what a good survivor or someone that's going to have longevity in Survivor looks like, and having the older people take control on both tribes. And I just think it's a really fun season of character dynamics. Agreed completely. Austin?
Yeah, I mean, the reason I like this one is because I watch Survivor for every part of the game, right? Like strategy, social dynamics, but I always tend to lean towards the seasons that have a little more diversity in their social camp life and such. And in this season, I mean, we watch how the girls are pretty tight and they're going to just execute against the guys most of the season. And you have the underdog, like Mike says, Chris, who really figures out how to infiltrate that dynamic. And, you know, you watch as the entire season goes by, like it's Chris guy is on with his social game the entire game. So for me, it was one of my favorite, you know, first 10 seasons. Like I love Vanuatu. So it's definitely one that I was willing to jump on a podcast and defend because I personally really enjoyed Chris as a gamer.
Yeah, I do as well, and I'm excited to talk about it. Joe, what about you?
Yeah, for me, when I first started watching Survivor, I would like go onto a list of like all the seasons ranked, and this one was like pretty low on that ranking. So I went into like thinking it wasn't going to be that good. Ended up leaving thinking it was awesome. Like I really enjoyed like a lot of the characters. I would say like in terms of like old school, it's probably the third best in my opinion. Like I think Amazon and Pro Islands are better, but like I would say this is then the next best old school game. And yeah, just the winner of Chris. I think he just played like a crazy good game, especially for like that time and that era.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Chris at this point is underrated as much as Kevin again is going to disagree with that. Like how he's able to bounce back from how far down he is crazy. So we'll get into that.
We're talking like the era of Survivor as well. Like we're not into the idols and advantages. It's just pure social experiment. And I think the best seasons of Survivor in this early era are the ones where you do have those rich character dynamics between the two tribes. And I think this, in terms of like a theme of the season, it really lives up to that. And like when they decided to do men versus women, I don't know if they expected it to be so divided down those lines and make for such an interesting study of that. But I think that's when it's at its best without needing all the gubbins and the MacGuffins that they end up throwing in in a couple of seasons' time and in the future.
Yeah, it's interesting to like think about because Amazon was very, very fluid. Wasn't really okay. The men and the women are so divided that one side's just going to get rid of the other, and this isn't necessarily as fluid until we get to like later in the game. The end game is extremely fluid, but
I think it's interesting too when the first time, obviously, as Jake just said, like it was pretty fluid, but in this season. You can really tell it's like Amy who's really influencing the girls to stay strong. And then you still have girls in that core that are like, oh, I really don't want to stay girl strong. But you like literally see it play out how it does, obviously, where they finally, flip with one dude left. So like it is interesting like how the producers are like, I wonder how this will play out. And then, certain players mitigate it in their direction because let's be honest, if Amy successfully keeps it going, she probably gets very close to the end, closer than when she gets. So, like, that's Survivor for you. It's really, it's fun watching the experiment.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about Amy, too. Amy is a lot of fun on this season. With that, let's just get into the cast. So we have Ice Queen Amy, you have Chris. We're going to talk a lot about Twyla, Eliza. Like, there's a lot of characters in this season. You also obviously have Jeff Probst's love interest, Julie Berry, so he dated with after the show. So
yeah, she was really trying to get more than $1 million in that one. She was.
You wanted screen time, Joe. Come on.
Yeah. I'm not Ryan. You don't got to talk about screen time.
But, your guys' thoughts on this? We have our starting tribes. We have the Lepevi men and the Yasser women. So what do you guys think of like this cast and the starting tribes?
I'm going to talk very highly about Scout as well in this season. Like, I think Scout and Twyla, as much as Amy, I think is like the figurehead for the women, she becomes like Icarus. She's too powerful and flies too close to the sun. And I really love Scout and Twyla on that original tribe. And I think Scout as a player is so underrated and often kind of forgotten about in Survivor history. And when you talk about like great players, like Scout's someone that had such a good pulse on the game and like dynamics within the tribe. And she was always aware of what was going on and when she needed a strike. So like for the women, Scout and Twyla are like my go-tos. And then for the men, like I don't know, Chris. That's about it. The rest are just there.
I think Chris is good. I think Rory is good.
Yeah.
I do think Bubba, if he stayed longer, would be remembered more than what he is because he pre-merged boots. And then then it's about it. I mean, Chad, being the first ever amputee, obviously is like something, but like they also don't really show him much on the show, so he's kind of like there, but not really. I'm assuming they didn't want us to get too attached to him with like his story and everything for him to just kind of get taken out by the women.
Right. Yeah, Chad is an interesting one because first amputee on the show, and they highlight it in the premiere here, but then they don't really dive deep into Chad that much this entire season. So
I think because it just never really mattered to him. Like he was perfectly fine and equipped to deal with everything out there. Like it was never a struggle for him. It seemed he's just he was a beast. Yeah, he's like. Yeah, Chad was good. I like Chad.
My whole thing with the guys was like backwards for me. Like I think the guys who went home early would have been way more memorable if they made it farther than some of the guys. Because like I try to like Sarge because I like that background, but like he's just it never clicks like 100% for me, right? And like Chad, I forget his name half the time watching it. So like the girls though, like I like how diverse that tribe was. Honestly, like you had Dolly, who's just like middle of nowhere, you little girl. Like she literally says in her exit interview, like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go back to my little farm and be little old me." Like, then you got like Scout, and then you got like Twyla, who's this like rednecker. Like, I love how diverse his entire like group is. Whereas the guys, you should have 4 bros, and then you got like 5 dads, like basically. So like,
Yeah, they really wanted to cast the women to like steamroll the men, I feel like, and then Chris just outwitted the women at the end, but it wasn't what they wanted. But
probably very unexpected too. They were probably like, "Oh wow, he's next. Wonder what girl's gonna win this season." And
right.
Yeah, and then and he ruined Julie's chances of winning the million. So like, how dare Chris?
Yeah. Jeff hated Chris from there on out.
Yeah,
how dare he try to win? Why didn't he just leave?
Yeah, he should have let Julie win the game.
Hey, Jeff wanted his wife to be just as rich as he is. So. Yeah, unfortunately, Jeff and Julie are no longer together. But Jeff has a new wife.
Yeah.
No, I mean, fortunately for Jeff, I mean he's found someone else, so that's good. Good on Jeff. But all right, so we do get these tribes divided from the opening ceremony. We have a pig getting killed right in front of everybody, which is crazy. We have Brady climbing the greased up pole for the spirit stone, which is this magical stone that makes it rain every single time.
The spiritual stone of nonsense, and they've got to climb up the greasy pole of destiny. It's just, what is the opening? It's so weird.
Yeah,
the guys want it. Just saying.
It's the only thing they do.
Yeah, it's the only thing Brady does all season.
Yeah, it's his shining moments. You know, he has to get something.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And you know, the men all get to drink kava as well, which is going to come back later in the season. The women do not get the honor of drinking the kava. So.
When you look at the dynamics of the season as well, I do think that's a really interesting distinction right at the beginning, that this tribe is very positive towards the men and like segregating of the women. And it really does play into how this season is going to go. And I think this probably is something that rallies the women together to be like, no, screw this. We're going to stick together and we're going to beat the men. It's like the divide there, it was kind of strengthened by the way they were introduced into the show.
Yeah, 100%. And because the guys, you know, they were just like, oh, we're just getting it. They don't really mind that. But then the women, we literally hear confessionals of them just like being pissed off about, you know, how all this treatment's going on for the guys. And they're just kind of sitting there and watching it happen.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. So I believe it's come out that they didn't even have the intention. Production didn't have the intention of doing men versus women, but the chief divided them that way. So they just left it.
Oh, interesting.
So I believe that's what has come out, which is wild.
That would kind of make sense just based off of like how everything was divided. It felt like very clear, like groups are going to form based off of men and women, just based off of archetypes and stuff. So I guess that would make sense if that just kind of just ended up happening.
Yeah,
I would have really loved to have seen what they were expecting, like before that, like what people would have been on what pairs, because that could have been like game changing.
Yeah, absolutely. I do wonder that as well. We do get also when they come out with the spears, and you have John Palyak, JP, talks about wanting to defend himself from people running at them with spears, and then Rory's like, you know, I'm the only black man that gets a spear pointed in my direction. Or I don't even get a spear pointed in my direction, my bad.
Yeah, they embraced him. It was quite nice.
Yeah, I love Rory. I'm so excited to talk about Rory's fun moments.
Grumpy Rory is so much fun. Like, I love Grumpy Rory.
He entered day one grumpy. Like, usually sometimes it takes people a couple days to get there. He like started already just like, I hate all these people. I hate being here. Like, why do I have to do this? You know?
I think he says it somewhere in the episodes that he literally claims that he's playing up as that person at some point. So it makes it even funnier that I know that it's actually authentic him.
Yeah.
It's funny as well, like, it's jumping ahead, but the only time we see Rory remotely positive in the entire show is when he thinks he's got a brand new lease of life at Merge, and then he's the first one to go.
Yeah, it's poor Rory.
Honestly, though, I love that immunity challenge where Rory wins with the slingshots, and like straight up, like that was like a great moment in Survivor.
Yeah, and then he breaks the immunity idol.
Yeah.
That's why I like the emotion part of the games. Like some people are like so into like strategy. I'm like, dude, I love getting into like the people like aspect of it. Like, why does so and so hate this person so much? Why is it gonna make this season wild? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So now we are going to skip ahead to the first reward and immunity challenge, the balance beam, because this is where Chris cannot cross the beam, and this is a huge part of his storyline, and it's fantastic television to watch him completely fail every single time.
Had this been like 70 to 80% of other seasons, Chris is the first boot based on this challenge performance, especially old school. Like, if you have a bad first challenge in old school Survivor, you usually go home. So for that not to happen here is, wild.
Yeah,
I can't believe it. I almost feel like his name doesn't get brought up until like at the start when they get back, but then it just fades off. I'm just like, how the hell did he just get off that so hard?
Yeah, I think it's just like how it shook out with the older people being on the tribe, and I think it's been said like something like the older people noticed the young guys were clicking up right away in like the hotel and stuff. I don't know, like which is odd because they shouldn't be allowed to talk to each other, but
I think this was so old school where they just kind of didn't care about that stuff. They were just like, they'll get out on the island and do it anyways.
Right.
It won't affect the season. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I do like that Chris's first confessional kind of sums up how he does survive, where I can outsmart 8 men a hell of a lot quicker than I can outsmart 8 women. And like he has this disaster of a first challenge, which like we're all Survivor fans. This is like the nightmare. Like imagine going out there and being the only one left, and you're still trying when the challenge is over, and it's all on you. Like terrifying.
I've experienced that in Vanquish before. I let down my entire tribe in a slingshot challenge in season 6 and somehow survived. But
the Chris of Vanquish.
Yes, the Chris of Vanquish, because then I also ended up somehow winning. But yeah, I don't know. I'll definitely have to call myself that now.
Yeah.
All right, so we are going to get to this first tribal council. So the younger guys, most of them want to go for Chris. Brady wants to go for Rory, so he doesn't even vote with the other younger guys. And so the older guys are like, we actually have to work together. And so Sarge and Chris are talking, and I imagine they had these conversations with Rory and Chad and Bubba as well, but we just didn't see it. But Sarge is like, originally JP is the target, and Sarge is like, no, let's go for Brooke because he's smart. And Brooke was like a major super fan. Stories have said that I think that's why he was a target, because he was just like so excited to be there, and he was seen as like the brains of the younger guys. And so we're gonna get to tribal, and Brooke is blindsided in a 5-3-1 vote. So your guys' thoughts on Brooke getting voted out first?
See, this is where I'm already like defending Chris, because this is already a good move on Chris's end, because he knows that Brooke, like you said, is a super fan, and he knows that he's going to play the hardest out of these 4. He also knows he's going to be in a majority if Brooke's gone the rest of this time. So he's already like, if I can get these 4 to like stick with me, I'm golden for now. Like, even if I'm supposedly going to be a first boot here, like if I can get past this, I'm golden. That's exactly what he does. So like he's already day 3 into the social dynamic of this game, where like people like Sarge are just like, oh, I like Chris. He's my guy. He's came to me. I'm down with him. And then Rory, who all the young guys hate, who he's like, oh, I got a thing with Chris. You know what I mean? So it's all just looping back to him immediately. So I definitely agree with the cutting of Brooke here on Chris's behalf.
Yeah, it makes sense. Michael, Joe?
And in terms of like all the other older guys as well, it's like, I think when it comes to the young guys on this tribe, it's that like young, good-looking entitlement that people have, where they just assume that, well, they're not going to be targeted, because why would you take out us and not the fat old people, as they keep referring to them? And this just solidifies, like I say, about the older people, that especially in old school Survivor, the old people are older. I'm probably about the same age as half of these people on the older tribe at this point, but like they historically do not do well, especially in old school Survivor. And to be able to form a natural majority based around that and give yourself pretty much guarantee of swap or merge, like, yeah, take out the young idiots. You don't need them, really. Challenges are diverse. You can get by without them.
My thing that I would love to know is if Brooke came back in a first boot season, how well would he do in first boots? Because I feel like if he's a super fan, he might actually have a shot in a first boot season.
Yeah, I really feel like Brooke got a very raw deal had they been with women. I mean, I guess the women were so gung-ho for the women that, you know, if he was on a tribe with the men in the minority anyways, then I guess he would still be a target in that case with this cast. But
yeah,
in a first boot season, if we're taking Brooke from this time in Survivor history, I think Brooke would have been someone that could have gone farther than he did this time. So yeah, because my first boot rankings, I have Brooke at 18th out of 57 first boots. So like, I think he had potential. I mean, compared to other first boots, again, it's a men versus women season with a cast that with women that are super gung-ho about going and taking out all the men. So like, I just think he got a very raw deal.
Yeah, to be fair, I agree with you, Joe, because I think on this particular season, let's say it reversed and Brooke got through this one, I think he does decently well with realigning with the women, kind of like how Chris did. So I think he definitely does better on like a season like this, especially on a season where it's all first boots. You almost like see the promise out of Brooke in the first episode because you see him talking to everyone. I'm like, that's probably why he was such a big threat, is because he was yapping it, you know what I mean, so much.
Yeah, he was talking about, and like he probably just assumed, oh, this is an easy first boot, because a lot, like even when we all played games, a lot of our first tribal councils are just kind of like, just do the easy thing, let's just move on to the next round, and then we can do something. Yep. And so I'm sure he thought the exact same thing. Easy vote on Chris, you know, people should get down with that so we can win the next challenge, and then didn't realize that, oh, the Fat Five actually were foreman over there.
I love how I think they're actually called the Fat Five Alliance.
Yeah,
they call them that. So. Yeah. But yeah, so the first boot rankings as they stand currently, without Brooke at the moment, number 1 is Tina in All Stars. Number 2 is Sonia. Number 3 is Deb. Number 4 is Diane. Number 5 is Peter Harkey and his Holes. 6 is Pastor John Raymond. 7 is Nicole from Pearl Islands, and 9 is 8 is Ryan Egan from Amazon. Brooke is going to go in at number 7, so he is above Nicole and Ryan Aiken. He is below Pastor John, which I think is a bit too low, but whatever. I don't think he should be below John.
Yeah, I think he's better than John.
Yeah, I don't know.
When it comes to first boots, the only ones I remember are Chicken and Francesca. So
and Zelensky.
Oh my god!
I haven't watched New Era.
Oh, okay.
I don't know who that is.
Tina and Sonia, Michael.
Oh yeah, like returning cast, like of course, and
Sonia's
Sonia's like, iconic for that reason.
Yeah. So I mean, I think Brooke got a raw deal in the rankings as well. I don't think people remember him. I feel like that's why he went lower.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people forget all about the pre-merge of this cast. It's just it can seem very forgettable because I do think like maybe the first 5 episodes are pretty unremarkable for the most part. You know, like there's little things, but like for the most, like the casual fans are not gonna remember much from those first 5.
Yeah,
I describe like the pre-merge and that until it all kicks off as the season's like a bubbling pot, and it's all just about the simmering tensions between these people, and it's not the most exciting, but it all adds to the ultimate season because these tensions have been building for so long, and when it does all start to kick off, it's like, oh, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think the main reason why it's boring is because like the girls, the only 2 like of the first 5 are like just bitter eliminations. Like Eliza's just bitter on one end, and then obviously everyone's just bitter at Maya on the other, and then the guys are just easy ones, right? So like it just kind of gets boring a little bit, like just a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I do find some of the women's like dynamics super interesting. Let's get into the rest of the pre-merge now. So let's get into this Dolly vote, because this is one where Dolly is technically the swing vote, she's really wavering between what she wants to do, work with the older women to get out Eliza, or stick with the younger women and target Leanne for, I guess, whatever reason. I'm not really sure what Leanne did wrong in this situation. But then Eliza gets super nervous, rightfully so. I actually will defend Eliza's decision here because I do think she makes the smart play. She goes to Amy and Twyla and Scout and Leanne and is like, hey, Dolly's playing both sides. Let's just take out Dolly. And so Dolly gets blindsided in a 5-4 vote. So what are your guys' thoughts on the Dolly vote?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely smart on Eliza's part too, because like Jake and I talked a little bit back and forth about this episode, because I was like watching Dolly and I'm like, she actually had more promise than she was giving herself credit for, because again, she was kind of like Brooke, but she definitely is correct on her assumption of not understanding the dynamics, because she definitely placed herself too far in the middle, where obviously someone like Eliza got way too nervous and was like, I don't trust this chick because she can't make up her decision, so she's kind of got to go, which who knows what happens to Dolly if she actually makes up her goddamn mind. She probably works with Eliza, who fucking knows. So it's just a really interesting vote. Like, I was a little sad to see her go because I kind of liked her off the first 2 episodes, but like, it was a very smart choice on Eliza's end, in my opinion, to just be like, no, I'm not playing with this middle, I don't know what to do type person.
Yeah, when you're playing the middle, you got to make sure both sides feel like they got you. And not just kind of like, we'll see, we'll find out when tribal council comes around. Like, that is never the play. So yeah,
I'll let you know
when I cast my vote.
Oh boy.
Michael?
Yeah, that's like up there with the alphabet strategy in terms of successful strategies for Survivor. I do wonder if Dolly was like already starting to see the power dynamics growing between Amy and Leanne, and what a dynamic that's going to be throughout the rest of the season. And I think maybe she was just trying to play it too soon and then got cold feet and wasn't sure what to do, or if she had the support. I do find it funny that like pretty much every tribal council, is it Eliza or is it somebody else?
Yeah.
The big dynamic is Eliza or the person who ends up actually going, and Eliza just sticks around forever.
Right.
In this Dolly boot as well, I really do like, it's a little Sarge moment that I like, when everyone's been really salty about like losing the challenge, and Sarge is actually kind of based, I think the children say, the kids say, kind of based where he's like we lost, like don't be a bitch about it. Just I really like that from Sarge.
Yeah, I that's a good Sarge moment. I did want to bring up to go into that. So after the Dolly boot, or in that same episode, we do start the Rory and Sarge feud because Rory starts calling Mia classless for dancing at the challenge. And then, literally, when the men win, I think it's that next immunity challenge, they're all like on the platform screaming and cheering and hugging each other. It's like, yeah, you won, you're celebrating. That's exactly what the women did. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, no, and then you have Rory trying to like cheer on LePevy while he's blindfolded, and Sarge is calling. He's like interrupts it and is like, "Stop! You're messing me up." So that feud is happening pretty early, and so that's going to carry us into the next episode, which is the double boot, and it is Rory getting mad because Sarge is trying to boss him around, and he's a grown ass man.
I think we also get a really interesting discussion about it's one of the Johns, one of the NPCs in the men's tribe, and Bubba, yeah, where like the conversation of like, if I had kids or if I was older, like my game would be more relevant to you, and it's the kind of cutthroat nature of Survivor, of like, yeah, like we're gonna get rid of you. I'm sorry, it is what it is, but I'm here for my family. I'm here for myself to get through the game, and it's quite like an honest and upfront discussion, and I really like that. Again, I think old school Survivor often gets overlooked, and I really like, with the lack of idols and advantages, how honest and open you can actually have discussions about the game you're playing as well, and what you're planning on doing, because there's not as much need to be super veiled, because you're not worried about them pulling anything out their ass. So you do get these honest discussions about why that you're going to be the vote, and and it's a much more human element to the game that is kind of lost in the madness of current Survivor.
I'm almost like a little shocked that some of the older guys didn't consider, just because of some of the relationships with Rory, getting rid of Rory there. If we're like already talking about, you know, an open vote, because they talk about it openly, like, oh, Rory's annoying us, like the younger guys. I'm surprised they didn't just think about cutting him and then keeping one of the younger guys for later, because you almost got to think about it. The girls could relate a little better to a younger male, and if you keep that younger male long enough, you can just get rid of him at the merge anyway after you get the numbers. Like, obviously it doesn't matter to Chris, but like to some of the other older guys, like I almost wonder like if they ever thought about that, like Sarge maybe thinking about, oh, I need one extra like young gun, because I'm pretty sure he talks about it every once in a while, like always considering the younger, you know, guys, because he has a little bit of an in with them. So, you know, I always think about that, like what if.
Yeah, that's a good what if for Shane and I. But Sarge talks about wanting to work with like Brady at one point and like wanting to keep him around, and then ultimately does not because, you know, the other older guys are against that. I honestly think Sarge is the one that's considering flipping and everybody else isn't. I think the reason why Rory stays around, I feel like, is more so because of Bubba, because Bubba and Rory, I think, have a decent relationship. And at one point, like, we're the challenge that Rory is the caller in like episode 4, and nobody's listening to Rory, and Bubba's the one like standing up for Rory and being like, listen to Rory and stop like interrupting him and whatnot. So I think they had a decent relationship, and then obviously we didn't get to see enough of it because then they get swapped together and they have to go against each other. So
yeah, and also just like old school, I feel like there's so many alliances in old school where there's someone who's just super annoying and they just deal with it because they have the numbers and they just say that's fine, who cares?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Sarge was always like one mood swing away from just writing Rory's name down. It was always such a conversation, like, can we just do Rory? This guy's pissing me off. Is this double also where we have like the cool little twist of John wins immunity and he gets to go hang out with the women for a day?
Yeah, so this is where he's going to give immunity to someone, and I actually think this is like the one cool move that John does where he basically gets the women to expose where they voted. And so,
they're all just honest with him.
That's
lying.
That's why I was saying at the beginning that I think he's actually like could have been a fairly good player because we see kind of like the capabilities of like what he could do, maybe even in like a modern game of Survivor. Because this almost feels like a new era modern kind of twist of like someone from another tribe going over there and influencing certain decisions of the tribe. So. Yeah, I actually, like, when I watched this, I was like, oh, damn, maybe John is actually, like, a real player here, and then, obviously, he goes out pretty soon. But,
and he gains a lot of respect. Gains a lot of respect from his tribe as well for it. Like, when he comes back and tells them, like, I divided them into this, I got all this information, and, like, the rest of the tribe are like, yeah, good job, dude, like, you did well.
Yeah, I think I heard on a podcast, I think it was Survivor Historians, they did an interview with Chris Dougherty, and he said, like, the reason they kept John Kenny around, though, is because they really underestimated him, and they didn't think, I think he didn't know what Survivor was going in, so they just didn't take him seriously. I don't know how true that actually is, but I mean, I'll believe Chris, because he, obviously, it's Chris, but, I don't know.
I mean, we shouldn't believe Chris because that was a mistake that lots of people made in this season and lived to regret.
That is true. But in an interview, I will believe what Chris says about what happened. But yeah, so I mean, that happens. Mia does get voted out and John P does get voted out. The only interesting thing about Mia is that Eliza flips back, but Lisa flips on them, which is really interesting because like she has like a throwaway line or seemingly throwaway when you first watch it of like, I think I have my own plan. I'm not sure I should stick with the younger women. And then all of a sudden, you know, you get that flip at that tribal to not vote for Twyla from Lisa. But yeah, I mean, there's not much else. I mean, Mia and Twyla fight, and that's what causes that tribal council argument. So, but
Twyla being a bit of a grump is a fun through line through this season, and she's just very pragmatic. Like, I do think Twyla's a very pragmatic person. She just wanted to work hard and keep the camp life going, and she just wasn't the most social with people. I think in terms of like early Survivor villain, she almost reminds me of Russell in the way she speaks as well, of like this kind of. I'm not an expert on American accents, but there was a few times where I was like, she's got a touch of the Russells about her, but I think she's so unfairly vilified. I don't know what Twyla does that's so evil.
She is vilified in this season. We'll get to that later, specifically in the merge, but I do find
like the Jerry Manthey syndrome of like, what did Jerry really do? That was so bad. I don't really know. I don't know what Twyla did either.
Yeah, Twyla was just playing the games.
Yeah, and if you're an old school player, you cannot play the game and be a hero. You instantly become a villain. It's kind of like a tried and true thing.
Yeah. We'll get to it later. I do have Twyla higher in my losing finalist rankings because I do think she's a great player. She just gets unfairly vilified.
Yeah.
So we'll skip ahead to the swap episode, and this is where we do get an earthquake, but as like a minor thing, but we do get the swap. And at this point now, Rory and Bubba get swapped, and Julie and Twyla get swapped, basically, is how it happens. And we do get to the immunity challenge, and this is where Bubba tries to throw a signal to Chris to throw the challenge, and Amy catches him doing it, and it seals Bubba's fate.
Yeah. You know what? Respect the try. Terrible execution. Terrible execution.
He doesn't even whisper it. He literally says it out loud in front of everybody. Like, Chris, think of the merge. It's like, bro, you didn't even try whispering it.
Jesus, Bubba, man.
I kind of, Austin will appreciate this. I kind of want to see Amy play with AJ from Brains versus Brawn 2 from Australian Survivor, because that's the kind of shit he did all the time. And she would really not appreciate him as a player. Yeah, it was just kind of dumb. Like, I don't know. He's thinking of his long game while in a terrible position. It's like, you just got to get through the position you're in right now, man.
Right.
Yeah. Because it was him and Rory. It was like those two were like clearly going to be the boots. So it's just like he knew it's a 1 in 2 chance of him going home there. So try to not go home this round by doing that, but also by doing that instantly makes him be the one instead of Rory.
Yeah, it literally was going to be Rory. They say it at Tribal, and Rory's like, "Oh,
yeah."
That's what I was literally about to say. I'm like, Bubba, if you just shut your mouth, you probably get fine. You're fine that round.
Yeah. Well, and he's fine that round, and like then the next round, I mean, they're gonna cut Lisa. Amy's gonna chop Lisa because she doesn't trust her. So like, I feel like Bubba might have been in the Rory position where he does make merge, and then he's like probably fine.
Probably not him at that first one because he's not a good challenge player. They probably get rid of Chris or Chad for sure.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe Sarge.
Well, Sarge
won immunity.
Oh yeah, Sarge won immunity. That's right.
I think it's an unedited part of the season that's interesting because Chris's name does not come up as one of the options until he's the last option. I think Chris's social game is clearly something that's going on under the radar where they're willing to keep him for a reason. Like, it's not just random that he's the last man standing. He's not even an option for these people. They clearly like something about Chris. One thing I have on this swap as well, I think is interesting for Amy, is just a little thing of when they come together with the two new guys on their tribe, that Amy is not even willing to show them how to open coconuts from Da. We should mention Da, the expert that came in to help them. It was such a good egg. But, like, not even willing to show the guys these things. And it's just like, no, we're not going to give them anything that can give them any kind of advantage over them. We don't need them. And it just sums up like Amy's perspective of how she likes to play the game.
Yeah, I find Amy interesting. Austin?
I think they show little Easter eggs of Chris's game throughout the swap by how he tries to work with Twyla and Julie, and definitely at like the first episode of the swap, of the actual like merge swap, like he is like the one guy that's continuously leaving like seeds into all the girls that he can. Like, hey, I want to work with you. Hey, I want to work with you. Hey, I want to work with you. So I think it ends up being like in his best interest because obviously the other guys aren't doing that. So the girls are like, I at least trust him a little more than these guys because he's actually making the attempt to, hey, I would actually work with you if there's a crack that you want to open. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I definitely agree with you, Mike.
I think I think like Chris is just so skilled and adept at that compared to everybody else, as you guys said, and like Chad, like I feel like people think, okay, because Kevin's argument is that if Chad wins immunity at 8, Chris is gone. I'm not so sure. Like maybe it is because they want to get rid of another guy, but I feel like when we get to that point, I don't know. Chris might honestly be safe, and they might try to go for Eliza the next vote. So like, I don't know. I really think Chris was well insulated by like a couple votes into the merge. So.
We can definitely talk about that when we get there for sure.
Yeah,
opinions.
Because he does get a good relationship going with Julie. Like I think the Julie relationship keeps Chris involved in the game.
Yeah,
and like Eliza too. Like a lot of the girls like on the outskirts of the power players of an Amy or whatever have good relationships with Chris and really feel super confident that Chris like 100% has their back. Like we'll talk about it a lot more later, but Chris ended up getting into a position where like literally everyone trusts him and 100% thinks that he's taking them to the end. Like I don't know how he ends up in that kind of position really.
And how that never like blows up in his face where other people like start realizing this. It's just kind of like they all just never really fact check like how much Chris is in with everyone.
Yeah. So who wins immunity at that finally? Like the one where
Twyla.
So, in theory, why wouldn't you get rid of Chris here if he's not so attached? Because Chad is literally so, like, you hear countlessly how unavailable he is, and he's just kind of coasting and he's there. Why wouldn't you just get rid of Chris here? Because you know he's, has all this social capital, and then just get rid of Chad next because he's just doing jack shit, right? So it shows that Chris has some ends because like Amy 100% would have been probably the first to be like, get rid of Chris because we need to get rid of him now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For sure. Let's talk about Rory finding his little crack. So at the Lisa vote. So Lisa does go here because she makes a comment that Amy takes as she's gonna gun for her because Lisa says we should teach the guys how to open coconuts or teach the guys something in case you're not around or something, or she doesn't finish that. And so Amy does the Ice Queen thing.
She wants Amy to show her where the maniac is.
Oh, yes, that's where it is.
I don't think she remotely meant that as like an against Amy thing. I think it was one of those things where like Amy just decided like you're done. And you see her being really taken aback and like, no, I did not mean this, and it pisses her off to the point where she ends up unwinding. And Rory sat on his pity pot, as Scout calls it, and you say Rory finds a crack. I don't think Rory really finds anything. Rory's just there, and they happen to like him a little bit more than Lisa at this point.
Yeah, I think Lisa. I was talking about this with Austin off air. I think that Lisa screwed herself from flipping a couple times, like where she goes with the younger girls and then she goes with the older women on the original Yasser tribe. I think that's left over from that. That's why Amy does not trust Lisa.
And I almost think sometimes as players, when you say something like just not 100% understandable, like if you're on the receiving end, sometimes you just take it and fucking run with it. I think that's what Amy ended up doing. Like, you're claiming this? Well, okay. Now I'm going to double it and make you seem like you're a jackass towards me. And now I'm going to get you voted off.
Yeah. Finding reasonings besides like the pure strategic element of like why you're doing it and finding like a more widespread way for like other people to kind of like latch on to it is definitely probably what happened here.
So she already didn't like her, like, because I'm pretty sure Amy's been pretty blunt this entire season about not liking certain people. But if she didn't like her already, and she said a comment like that with people around, take that shit and run. Like, oh, really? Okay, Lisa. Well, now you're done. And
it's so funny.
I think it is a bit of a risk as well, though, because this comes before the other tribe goes to tribal and gets rid of John over Julie and Twyla over there.
Yeah.
So, like, if they take out Lisa there and then they assume that Twyla or Julie's going to be gone,
Right.
then all of a sudden you're going into merge not with a natural advantage. So it is risky for Amy to make that move at that point rather than take out a Rory. I think if she'd made it after seeing that, like, the women survived a vote over there, like, oh, actually, they're finding inroads over there, we can afford to take this risk and start breaking the women up over here. But she doesn't know that yet, so it is kind of risky.
Yeah, that was another thing I said to Jake too. Actually, it's funny that you bring that up because I was literally thinking that same way. I'm like, so you get rid of Rory, you still have the girls' numbers going in. You can always just get rid of Lisa at merge, the first boot, and then you move on. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, Rory threatens to burn down the camp in confessional. Decides against it because his wife's words come to him.
Gosh.
When he gets forward out as well, or it might be at the reunion, he says, like, his one regret is that he didn't burn down the camp on his way
it's at
out.
the reunion.
It's like, that wasn't a joke. He legitimately wanted to burn down the camp.
He wanted fire.
Yeah,
I wish.
Yeah, the fact that we never got Rory in a returning season is just upsetting. Like straight up.
I think he just got forgotten about right after the season. It's kind of like we got other interesting people.
He was in the running for Heroes versus Villains for a bit.
Oh, was he?
As what?
As a villain. Yeah, he was in that running.
Rory's our hero.
Like another. Just like a chaos.
Yeah.
My hero.
We need Rory back, but I think that ship has sailed at this point.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And then the Lepevi tribe does go, and they should have cut Julie here, but they decide to cut John K. John K actually also tries to gun for Chad for whatever reason, so like he didn't do himself any favors, but this was disastrous for Sarge and Chad's games.
Yeah, this was the dumbest move for all the guys except Chris, really. Well, Chris at the time still, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter for him. But yeah, like, you need to convince John to stick with the guys, like, as Chris. Like, they have their moment where John's, like, pitching it, and Chris is just like, yeah, I see how it is. You know, you would think that way. Like, bro, just be straight up. Be like, no, get rid of Chris. We'll get rid of him at 8 or whatever. Like, we need to stick Guy strong because he's... But again, I think Chris is really actually thinking like those two girls could work with him long term. So I think that's the only reason he personally is like, fuck it, we'll get rid of John now because he's been against me all season basically. So just get rid of him now. But yeah, it's just really weird because in John's eyes, I think John says it like he trusts Chris, but I don't think Chris, reciprocated that 100%. So
no,
yeah, very odd. You know what I mean? It could have been a game changing like move if they just got rid of Julie there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then Jeff Probst would have really hated the season.
I'm gonna sound like Jeff Probst right now because this episode I actually thought Julie's a really, really good player.
Yeah,
like this happens because we see Julie really solidify herself where she manages to completely lie to Twyla.
Yes,
and she tells Twyla that she was offered a Final Four as well, which wasn't the case. And this is going to be the crux of the blow up that causes Twyla to stick with the women when we do get the merge, because she thought the men were having her. And Chris and Sarge, I think were completely locked in with that 4 as a 4 to move forward with into the long term. And Julie, through a really good lie in Poker Face, manages to switch things up for herself.
Yeah, Julie does a really good job here. I think we should give her more credit. Jeff obviously gives her a lot of credit, but
yeah. I mean, people refer to Julie as like the real Parvati, like 0.0, like in terms of just like the attractive girl who kind of like does the whole eyelashes and all that, like is really like cutesy and gets in with people and kind of flirts a little bit and manages to make a deep run. Could have potentially won if she got to the end in this case, but because Parvati comes out and just then ends up winning a little bit later, obviously everyone refers to it now as Parvati. But Julie was like kind of one of those first like real archetypes of this kind of player.
Yeah,
I think any woman apart from Twyla that gets to the end does win.
Yeah,
I think Twyla's the only woman that doesn't win at the end. Yeah, I think the rest of them do get those votes.
Yeah, all the girls were in pretty much synergy except Twyla. Like everyone kind of had bitterness towards her at some point.
Yeah, I could have seen Eliza also losing because I know
Yeah,
Eliza
maybe,
also kind of pissed off some people. So
I could see that too. I could maybe see Scout a little bit as well, but like, I mean, Julie, Leanne, Amy, absolutely one of them is winning the game 100%.
Oh yeah.
I think Scout absolutely sweeps Chris.
I think
so.
so.
I think so too.
Maybe. That's something we can definitely talk about when we get there.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're gonna get to the merge, and we have our merge tribe name Alinta. And so, what are your guys' thoughts on the Alinta tribe? Where does it rank among the merged tribe names?
What are the other ones?
Well, I don't have the ranking of the merged tribe names. I'm just kind of like going off of memory, but I think the best ones are like Motomaji from Africa, Barramundi from Australia. I think some of those. I feel like I like this way better than the merged tribe names that are just the combination of the tribe names. This is better than that. What does Alinta mean again? Is it like something? I think Scout names it that. It's something to do with like the volcanoes and everything.
Something to do with fire, like fire breathing, fire maker. I think it's fire maker or something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, because it's the theme of the season. These are the islands of fire, so that makes sense.
I mean, it's obviously not as good as America.
I was just about to say that is the best merge name.
We'll get there eventually in the series.
For anyone who watches Australian Survivor, the greatest tribe name that never was King George tried to name the merge tribe the Queen Elizabeth tribe.
Yes. Sadly, we never got that. But yes. So moving on. So Sarge does win the first individual immunity. It's close between like him and Rory and Amy, I think, something like that. So I don't know. It's a fun little challenge getting the flags and stuff. Very exhausting, clearly. But so this is where now Twyla and Julie are going to flip to vote off Rory here. We also get Julie flirting with Jeff because she paints a heart over her own with Jeff's name in it. So we get the first instance of Jeff being flirted with.
I think that the boys really should have seen this coming. There's so many like red flags. Also, like just not listening to Rory. Rory really spells it out for them that like these girls are sticking together. Like I've just survived hell over there, and they're gonna stick together. And little things of the love heart on Julie, all that paint. Amy was the one that painted them. Amy was sat at the beach painting the girls, and it's like, they're together, guys. Like,
this is definitely the first time in the whole game where Chris finally has a bad social read, because he definitely is thinking Twyla and Julie are working with him here, and they're like, oh, they both know that the girls have this power. Let's get rid of Amy here. We're good.
Yeah,
but he did not. It did not click that those two are still like in with them.
Yeah, I also find it interesting because I believe Rory has face paint on, and it's like I feel like maybe the girls were like, "Oh yeah, Rory, come put on this face paint," and like making Rory feel comfortable, and then just to blindside him. So
an honorary girl after all the time he spent over there.
Yeah. I feel so bad to lose Rory right before jury. That it's heinous.
Yeah,
I really didn't think. I always assumed that like merge not being jury was quite a recent development. It really shocked me that this first merge vote wasn't jury. I was like, we don't get Rory on the jury. Would have been great. Grumpy Rory.
It's kind of
seeing him at tribal council just being pissed off all the time, like that's what we missed out on.
The merge not making jury has been there since season 1. I mean, I think it was like the first 12 seasons. If you were the first merge boot, you weren't on jury typically, unless it was like jury always started final 9.
Yeah, and I think there's there's a lot of like really memorable people from their seasons that were like the merge boot that didn't make it. So I think that eventually Survivor started kind of being like, wait a second, why are all these people that we liked on the TV now not there anymore, even though they were so good? Maybe we should just add an extra jury spot just to make sure.
Maybe a couple extra jury spots.
So they corrupted a little bit for a few of those seasons too, where even like pre-mergers are making it onto the jury.
We'll talk about that when we get to Cook Islands and Fiji. But
Yeah.
But yeah, so Rory does go. And so obviously the men are pissed off. We'll kind of skip ahead. I did want to mention Chad and Kava. So the Kava does make a comeback. Chad gets like drunk off Kava at the reward at like final 8. So that's really fun.
So sweet. There's like a sweet little brotherhood between him and Chris. And like Chris is kind of looking after him. There is a funny quote from Chris to Chad when the destruction of the men happens and they're trying to work out their positions, and Chris says, "I think you've both got a leg up on me." Chad. And Chad's like, excuse me, Chris like, "I did not mean to say that."
Chris makes so many funny comments, and that is like just one of the like, he obviously didn't mean it as like an insult, but it's so fucking funny. All right, so Chris is now the last man when Chad gets voted off. Chris at this point is also, he did help them vote off Sarge, because he does come to them after, be like, Sarge asked him to vote him off, and that was a lie. So like Chris has been planting the seeds for a while and like being open. And like, yeah, he didn't vote off Rory, he didn't vote off Chad, but like, I don't know, like he's done enough to be able to like ingratiate himself and make himself someone that they can work with. Some of them can work with. But really, we get to the loved ones coming in. Eliza does win the initial loved ones, but it's really the immunity challenge where they come back in, and we get Chris's partner, Lori, his girlfriend at the time, I believe, Lori coming in, and he really needs to win this challenge to stay in the game, and he does not, and he's telling Lori, "I'm about to go home." And just like, this is a really big moment, because this ends up being the catalyst for like, we can't vote off Chris because of Lori. So we have to vote off Eliza here. So this is a pretty big moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I especially love it because like knowing after the fact too, that his girlfriend's like, Chris basically made it seem like he did get voted out at this time. So it's like, even as she's watching it, she has no idea like that Chris is about to go on this crazy run.
Yeah, because she said at the reunion, like, they thought they had to go in for their early show interview, and then they watched the episode and he survives. Like,
yeah.
I love it when players do that. You got to keep everyone, engaged, right? You can't just tell everyone you won. Come on.
Yeah, I wouldn't tell anyone anything.
Yeah.
Right. So right before Tribal Council, we do get Twyla swearing on her son, because we meet her son, James. And so this is obviously a big moment in the season that will have ramifications as we go in this endgame. And so, like, clearly it's not that big of a deal. Everybody swears on everything, or most people swear on everything. Dogs, parents, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters. Like, I just really find it hilarious that this is such a big scandal. Back then, we literally had Johnny Fairplay with his grandma a couple seasons ago, and then all of a sudden everybody's like, "Oh my God, Twyla swore on her son. She's like a terrible person for this."
But
like,
that's why people get villainized, man, like in the early era, because people in the game like take that way too seriously at this point. Like they're like, "You just swore on this. Like if you screw me over, I hate you, and you have zero morals and blah 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 blah." So like people watching this, they're like, "Oh, Twyla's horrible. She's swearing on her son. Like her son could be dead now because of like blah blah blah." So like I'm like, come on, man, because now you watch it and you're just like, I could say that 5 million times and I wouldn't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like strategizing wise. So it's interesting watching it, like, because I don't see her as a villain in that way. Like she's just, basically lying.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, it's just, we'll talk about Sarge at Final Tribal with that shit, because it's annoying as hell. But yeah. But any other thoughts on Twyla swearing on her son here?
It doesn't matter to me. I don't see it as a big deal. I do like this episode of Chris, like Last Man Standing Chris, and how he's able to avoid that. Because going back to the beginning of that episode, like Chris had a deal with Chad, with Twyla and Scout at this point to take out one of the girls. I can't remember which. But and I like that Chris completely blows up Scout and Twyla's game at that point. He tells the camp about what the plan was, and that unravels all this stuff that goes on between the girls. And I actually think people talk about Chris was desperate to win immunity, and obviously he has that moment with his partner. I actually think if Chris wins immunity here, he almost guaranteed doesn't win this game. Like, I think that would bolster the argument with the women that, like, yeah, this guy, like, he's dangerous. We can't let this guy skate through. Like, if he wins a few more immunities, I think the fact that he doesn't become a real immunity threat at all until, like, literally the end, he wins the final one, but, like, he wins a couple, but not a super challenge beast. I think if he wins it there, it actually, like, hurts him rather than helps him.
Yeah, his game is very socially dependent, and again at this merge, you just see he's continuously trying to stir the pot into a way that he can benefit, and obviously he does. So he, like, especially at that vote where he should probably go home, like, he makes it so that he has the chance to continue on.
Yeah, and Eliza gets targeted over him.
Can I just mention an amazing Scout quote from this little area as well? Scout says, "I came out here to play an honest and loyal game, and if that doesn't work, I'll lie, cheat, and steal." And I just think that is just fantastic Survivor confessional. Love
we
it.
should mention, because we'll talk about it at the final tribal with Scout's question, but I guess she talks about you can't bullshit a bullshitter, and I believe because she's like a bullshitter in real life in some ways, so, like, which is really funny that's how she knows Chris is bullshitting. So
I can't recognize this game. Like, she totally sees through Chris in that moment, because I can't wait to get to Chris's final tribal because it's fucking hilarious.
I love it.
We will get there, as up there as one of the best final tribals of all time.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
So, but we do get here. We also get the iconic Chris confessional of if you upset the women, they'll snap your neck. You gotta just if you let them open up the back door, that's where, and let them open their hearts to you, that's where you'll get through. So
this is the Leanne blindside, right?
Yes. So this is Leanne, because Amy has immunity, so they do target Leanne. And so you have Twyla going up to Chris. Chris is the one who was instrumental as well in getting Eliza to believe them, because I'm a firm believer, like, Eliza does not like Twyla and Scout. Eliza is not going to listen to them. Chris has to be the one to go up to her and tell her what's going on for her to actually understand, like, she's in danger and needs to make this move tonight. So
I really like that gameplay from Twyla. Like, Twyla recognizes that as well. Twyla wants that to be what happens and knows she needs to send Chris. And she has a fantastic line to Chris where she says, "You've had the key this whole time, you just haven't realized it." And she, like, pushes her towards Eliza. It's so good. Like, Twyla's a real, like, game player. She's
very
I think as more and more as the years go by, like, people appreciate Twyla. I remember the first time I watched the season, I really didn't like Twyla. I bought into the villain narrative. But I think Survivor's evolved, and the more you watch the show and appreciate the show, I think Twyla's someone that is, like, really integral in terms of old school Survivor as, like, one of the best pure, like, players of the game.
A lot of, like, things that, like, were big icks, like, in old school Survivor or like almost like just commonplace now. So it's like when you kind of go back and, like, look at all the stuff that is considered villainous, it's like, well, people are doing this all the time now. So it's like it feels like, you know, any villainous kind of tendencies there almost feel like watered down now that we've seen so much of this happen so many times, as opposed to where back then it was just like, oh, only like a couple people were ever doing anything like that bad of, like, you know, swearing on their kids and all that kind of stuff.
I feel like back in this era also, like, this is why I really respect, like, Twyla and Chris as gamers, and also the fact that Scout and Eliza do this flip here, because back then this is a really big, like, move, honestly. Like, you're not comfortable voting with this 4 group, and you're comfortable then voting with these girls. Like, Chris making that attempt to, like, really talk Eliza into this is insanely huge to both their games, because again, if Eliza doesn't do it, she's donezo earlier than what happens to her. Like, it's a trickling effect that they broke and started a whole new chain reaction.
Yeah, and I mean, we've had obviously the power shifts in Marquesas, Amazon, Pearl Islands. Like, those 3 seasons were hugely instrumental into what happens now, where we get this giant power shift.
It's just crazier in this instance to me, because it's Chris who has to do it, and he actually finds the 3 right people to make it happen. Whereas
Yeah.
that's where my argument's always at. No other guy would have done this to Eliza other than Chris, in my opinion. I don't think Chad could have talked his way into this. I just can't see it.
I can't either. Like when Kevin makes that argument, I'll just say like when he's like, yeah, Chad could have done this. Like Chad is not doing this. Like, let's just be serious. Like I really can't see it either.
Do we think that, because also on top of this comes about because Amy is targeting Eliza, and Eliza really has to make this move in order to save herself. It would have been Eliza who went home, not Chris. Like, if Amy is instead like pushing just to get rid of Chris and we could deal with the rest of this later, like, does Amy squeak through that vote with the number she needs still intact? Because I think this is where she loses a lot of that control. And I think if Amy gets like another vote with her numbers intact, she pretty much steamrolls the game.
That's a great point too, Mike. Because like, what if Amy just doesn't I think she literally overplays just enough for where Chris recognizes it and takes advantage of it. It's the trickling effect of what happened with Lisa and Amy. Chris recognizes something that misunderstood a tiny bit, pulls it and runs with it, and then tells you know what I mean. So it's just what happens, and it's awesome that Chris recognized that at that specific time.
Yeah. I think it's just absolutely crazy. Amy and Leanne really lose the game in this very round by targeting Eliza when they literally could have been fine had they just stuck with Chris, and I think everything is fine.
And Amy's playing a great game, in my opinion, too, until that point.
Yeah, I think she's honestly like the front runner if you're just looking at it like from positioning wise. There, like she almost has like that Boston Rob level of control of that group too. Like she really is female Boston Rob, just like, I have my people, I got it, and then she's like, okay, maybe I don't trust this person, let me get rid of, which we've seen Boston Rob do many times like that. And but you know, Boston Rob's never had to deal with a Chris. You know, Chris.
He hasn't.
Yes, it's a good social game that the girls are not even flipping on her when they know they should at the first few votes of the merge. You know what I mean? Like, she's just doing such a good job of keeping them controlled, controlling chaos, basically.
Absolutely.
I think she's kind of like a prototype. Like, we're gonna see Kim like come in, and when I think about like these powerful women who just completely dominate, like Amy dominated the season just like Kim did, but she lost grasp. I think Kim kept herself grounded and her head on her shoulders more, enabled to keep people from seeing her in that way until it was too late. Whereas I do think Amy got a little bit too, full of hubris and a little bit cocky, and she even admitted someone called her out for getting a bit cocky. I think it all just got to her head a little bit, and she lost complete control of the game, and then she was just screwed.
Yeah. Amy is definitely the prototype Kim Spradlin. I can totally see that. I mean, and she lays
both men and women seasons. Look at that, how that played out.
That is crazy to me. That's something to talk about, how it contributed to the evolution of Survivor. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, I did want to mention also when Eliza and Leanne are tied like 3-3, Eliza looks over at Amy, and then like just to like see Amy's reaction, it's so funny. So it's like, it's so good.
I love Eliza.
Imagine Eliza just didn't believe Chris.
Yeah.
Like when her name comes up, it's like, oh shit, like I could have saved myself, and I've sent myself home by not following through.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy to think about. So Amy is basically screwed at this point. I mean, Amy is really trying to convince Eliza to come back this next round and like force a tie with her and Julie. And basically Chris is able to convince her to not change and to keep with the status quo. Chris does win his first of 3 immunities here at the final 6. So he does become a little bit of a challenge beast at this point. But
it's funny, it happens when he doesn't really need it though.
Right.
Like he's kind of all right now, and he starts winning immunities.
He's taking it, yeah. Well, also, I mean, this one he does beat Amy, but after this, it feels like his immunities are against like not the craziest big competition people. So like, sure, he wins 3 immunities at the end of this, but like if you compare like who he's beating. It's not like, oh wow, Chris was actually this massive challenge beast in Survivor history.
No. Once it gets to the final 4 and final 3, he is up against not great challenge performers.
Yeah.
Doesn't he even say that to is it Eliza or
yes,
Julie?
he says
Like,
he says
have a competition
Twyla
6-year woman and Scout,
Yeah. When I saw that final immunity challenge, I was like, well, there's no way Chris doesn't win this when he's facing Scout and Twyla.
So Amy does go here at 6. We do get her and Scout going against each other. This is also significant. Ironically, we are during Pride Month because Scout and Amy are the first 2 openly out lesbian women in Survivor history. So we do get them even going to war with each other with I think Amy says, Scout, you're no part of any rainbow I've ever seen. And,
that was a good little line.
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
it's just it's very cool too, like that we get these 2 openly out women as well. So and 20 years ago. So
yeah, and both kind of real power players of the season and like integral to it. At this tribal council as well, this is the beginning of Twyla really unraveling, and it's going to be the start of what ultimately loses her the game. This is where Amy like calls out Twyla about her lies and about swearing on her son, and Twyla's response is, I'm not the only person who's lied in this game. You've been had, screw you. You've been had. It's so good, but like not endearing you to the jury at all.
No.
To be fair, I think here Eliza could have turned into a flipper and probably made it to the end, but I agree. I understand why she doesn't go back to Amy here.
Yeah, I mean, Amy broke the trust there, and I really think Eliza should have, very much so in hindsight.
She was never going to be in a majority of anything at this point, so she really needed to just continuously screw people.
Yeah.
I find the whole thing really confusing because Amy spends this episode like really trying to make Eliza feel guilty about flipping and taking out Leanne, and it's never mentioned. Like Eliza never brings up that like you wrote my name down. Like
I know.
Why am I the villain here? You tried to vote me out. I just saved myself. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think her mental just got to her at this point. She's just like probably in that mind frame where I'm just pissed as hell. Like I'm giving it to her at this point. Fuck it.
Yeah, I think Amy is the kind of player who's just really good when she's on top, but is not someone who can play on the bottom.
Yeah,
which is also like what Boston Rob is.
Yeah,
like it is literally like
has to be in control, and then when they lose power, they can't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, and her second chance, I know that's farther in the future here, but that proves to be true.
We'll talk about Amy's second time in Micronesia, but like Amy was like absolutely like the biggest lock to return from this season, I think.
Had to.
It's been a while since I watched Micronesia. Like, how does Amy not end up in that Black Widow's group? Like, does she just get cut? I can't remember what happened.
Because she basically tries to work with the fans and like give them false hope, and then she gets caught by Suri and Amanda and Ozzy doing that. And
so trying with Tracy, right? Was that
Tracy, because Tracy and Eric Reichenbach, and like she's trying to give them false hope, and then cutting them anyway, and then
literally Chet quitting that fucks that all up, right?
Well, yeah, Chet quits, and that screws them from taking out Ozzy earlier, but like still.
Because, like, surely the Black Widows is literally the perfect alliance for Amy. That's exactly
that's what she wants.
That's all she ever wants.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. Amy just gets shafted, but I mean, again, I think it was just like Suri and Amanda couldn't trust because she was throwing them under the bus too. I think a little bit. But anyway, that's a future 1 through 50 episode. All right, so we get to the final 5 episode. Eliza does win immunity here and the car. So she is the next recipient of the car curse. And so basically Chris is now the swing vote. We also got a fight between Eliza and Twyla while Chris is in the hammock. So
the iconic shot of Twyla just standing in the background with this look on her face of pure fury. It's so funny.
That's like another moment where if the girls were just calmed down, dramatic wise and emotion wise, they could have just gotten rid of Chris easily and moved on. You know what I mean? Like, be theoretical here, women. Like, it's a 4v1. The guy, if you just think about it, he gets to the end, he's gonna get some kind of praise for being the guy who flipped everything. Like, just put your differences aside, 2v2 yourselves at 4 and call it a day. But no, they're too emotionally at each other at this point.
They give him the power. That final 5. Like,
They opened the back door.
Yeah, the front door. Yeah. So at this point, Chris is basically, even at one point, he tells Eliza, like, hey, if I choose to screw over Julie, I think he says, don't be mad at me at one point. Like,
he's very smart about making sure Eliza knows that if he chooses to take out Julie, that it doesn't affect his deal with Eliza. And that completely works. Like, she still trusts him afterwards. She's not happy about it, but she does still trust him. Is this where we also get the like the little retreat that Chris and Julie go on, where they look at a mountain and Chris can't ride a horse?
That we get that, the volcano. So that's pretty good. And then Eliza and Scout and Twyla get into it over like bananas and stuff. So that's basically what happens. So the final 5 tribal, Chris chooses to be the swing and piss off Jeff Probst by voting Julie out of the game. So it's crazy.
We talk about how amazing like Eliza's expressions have become like iconic for Survivor, and it's gonna continue throughout whenever she turns up again. But like she is so happy to write down Twyla's name. I think in her like voting confessional, she's like, this is the best day of my life, or something to those words, of just the excitement of finally getting Twyla out of the game. And then the big eyes when it's not Twyla.
In the mouth, yes. Eliza's reactions, she is the best reactive, like, jury member player like you could ever want. I guess it's next in the finale when she says her vote for Twyla there is like, you're like the cockroach, don't die under the refrigerator.
I love that.
I think she's really charming this season. Like, people talk about her being annoying and they don't get on with it. I think she's so charming. Like, I don't know, I just really like her. I think she grows a lot throughout the season as well. And I didn't find her annoying, but I didn't have to live with her, I guess. I don't know.
I think you can tell she talks way too much. I love when her mom comes in, she's like disbelieving. She's like, you know what? These people said I did too much, talk too much.
And her mom's like, yeah, fair enough.
So all right. I think that's the entire post-merge up to the finale. Anything else before we get into our finale and rankings?
No.
All right. Let's get into it. The final 4 challenges, that giant maze, which again is really impressive that they built this entire thing when they build these giant challenges every season.
It's like a vertical one, right?
Yep. And Scout, obviously.
By the way, I love the mazes, man.
Yes. Yeah. It's so good. Scout is having trouble. Like, she cannot climb these. Apparently, like, she had like the wrong size knee or something on the show, and that's why she was not very good at any of the challenges. So, like, I mean, aside from her being a 60-year-old woman, but still.
Wrong size what?
Wrong size knee.
Knee?
Yeah. She had an artificial knee.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, she mentioned in the reunion. It's a really like sad moment for her as well, where she's talking about like the indignity of just like not being able to compete and just being older and like not wanting to be that. It is quite like a sad under the radar story throughout the season of Scout, like doing her best, and she never complains. Like, she does all these challenges, she's never great in them, but she always gives it her all and actually competes. And like, in this Final Four immunity, like they're at like 8, 9, 10 flags or whatever it is that they're trying to collect, and she's on 3, but she's still running up and down this little maze, like right to the end, like actually trying rather than just like, even like George, who's an all-time great player, he just gives up at the drop of a hat. At least she puts in the effort to actually try when she knows she's got no chance of winning it.
It's just quite impressive. Anyone over like the age of like, I'll give like a 57 plus, like if you're making it this far and you're still active, like I'm just internally impressed that you're even like alive at this point. You know what I mean? Especially in these. I'm just being for real. Like when it's like day 37, and you're like you're already not there mentally.
Yeah.
You're not there physically.
Yeah.
Like how the hell are you still moving so fine out there? Like it's just so impressive to me.
When we see like when we see like the
pensioners exist.
Yeah, when we see the 20-year-old alpha males who are struggling, and then somehow also the 50-plus-year-olds are, still out there also giving it their all. It's like, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's also why nowadays we only really see the older people if they've been like former military or they have like some kind of job that they used to do that was very heavily physically intensive, because it takes a lot out of you to be able to be at that age and be out there.
Yeah, it is funny looking at like Scout not complaining and like still doing all these challenges. Then you have fast forward to like Garrett and Kagian, and he's a big, strong guy and complaining about being out there.
Yeah. And no one's bringing him chicken out there.
You have an idol. Like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. We'll get there eventually to Garrett. All right, so then, Chris is still making Eliza believe that he's going to tie it up. And then we get to Tribal, and Eliza is voted off. Eliza gives the death glare to Chris, and Chris is just like, bye.
Can we talk about that? Like, I think Chris plays a great game, and he manages to swing it around the final Tribal Council. This is such an unforced error. This is the dumbest thing Chris did the entire season. Like, why would you do that at this point? Like, you've already blindsided her. You've got to rub it in like that, like in front of the jury.
The Ohioan in him came out here. That's all I'm gonna say. Just a little, like, to rub it in the wound. Just whatever. Bye bye.
But she wasn't an enemy. She was an ally.
Yeah. Very big error. I don't even know what happened there.
Yeah, it is not great on Chris's part. I mean, Chris is able to still get Eliza's vote, but he's also up against Twyla. So, which like I love Twyla. I think she got a really bad rap at Final Tribal. But like, I mean, she also rightfully did piss off people. So like, I get from that perspective as well. But any other thoughts on Eliza getting voted off here? All right.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Well, she'll be back.
Yeah.
So
she should be back for a third time. She should have been on Survivor 50. I'm just saying that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
She should have been on Ghost Island with the fucking stick. That would have been amazing.
Yeah. I can't wait to talk about the stick. But we do get to the final immunity challenge after the rites of passage, and we get like they've to hold a bow and arrow and like hold it without it piercing the paper, and they have to stand on like the tiny little poles. So this is definitely hard because again you're standing on little tiny like footholds, and then you're trying to hold this bow and stop it from like shooting through the paper. Like that's definitely difficult.
That's a crazy challenge. Let's be honest. You are using every goddamn muscle in your being in this challenge. Like whoever created that is nuts. Like good job, but you're a nut job.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's been a few like old school like final immunity challenges that are just like it feels like they're just torture like traps that are just like supposed to be bad. Like I don't know if you guys have like actually like shot bows and arrows, but like if you hold that shit for like a while, like it fucking hurts. Like
1 minute for me holding a goddamn bow is killing me.
Yeah, I could not do
My
that.
experience with bow and arrows is that I know that if you hold it at full length for a long period of time in a video game, the visor starts to get more wobbly, so it must be more difficult.
Yeah, no, I'd be out pretty quickly, I think, on this challenge.
You know, the most nut job like challenge they created was that Thailand one for me. I'm like, bro, I would have died probably on that one, just collapsed.
Yeah. That's hard on the knees, and I don't have great knees for that.
My non-meniscus knee would have exploded.
I would have liked to have seen this one with like a more competitive final three. I think it's an interesting challenge, but like you say, it's not the longest. It's pretty obvious Chris is going to win this one.
Yeah.
It's one of those where like at the beginning of the season you could see how this could have been like a really good challenge, but just because of how everything played out and a lot of the younger players were taken out before this, is just kind of like, okay, well, this is going to be a pretty anticlimactic final challenge.
Do we think Twyla, if Twyla somehow won, do we think she takes Scout here?
Ooh, because I mean, her and Chris also made a deal, I think. Here. So I actually don't know. If we get to interview Twyla, that's something to ask her.
That'd be really interesting, right?
Because I think she also knew Scout was a very likely person to win, so I feel like she would have still taken Chris.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I was just wondering what you guys thought.
Maybe it would have given Twyla more like jury cred at Final Tribal that she won this challenge instead. Maybe swayed a vote or something, but still, I think Chris would have just won.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get to, I think, another thing. Yeah, Twyla definitely loses because Chris gets in her head, but so
before we get to the finale, good idea of the rest of this, can I just say as well, this is the first time I've been on this 1 to 50. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are about it, but I love the rites of passage, and I wish that's something they continue to do all the way through like modern day Survivor. I just think it's a really fun way to spend a few minutes of the finale just reflecting on the season. I really like it.
Yeah, Austin and I got to do it in our seasons of Vanquish, and like I think Rites of Passage is something that should have stayed around because I think it's just such a nice tribute. You get to reflect on the game, and like I feel like having a reflection on it is really nice. But
I really 2 minutes of your finale.
Yeah.
Like, why is it not? You know what I mean? You have a 3-hour freaking finale now. How the hell can't you spend 5 minutes on it?
Well, now we got to hear all the jury have the confessionals about all the players. For about 10 minutes. Yeah, that's right. Now that's the new rites of passage.
yeah, that is unfortunately. So yeah, Scout is gonna get voted out here, and she is our fallen angel of the season. So currently where the Fallen Angels stand right now, we have Rob Sesternino at number 1, Kathy at 2, Rudy at 3, Lex at 4, Johnny Fairplay at 5, Jenna Lewis at 6, Keith Famey at 7, and Jan Gentry from Thailand in last place. For me, I have Scout 37 of 48. I feel like that's a little low. I do think she was instrumental in some things in the game, but I do feel like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm lower on Scout because I don't know. It's hard to say. It's not even like her age or anything, but I didn't really care for Scout as much as I feel like I cared for like Twyla and Chris, to be honest. So I feel like that's probably affecting my ranking of Scout. But
this is where I'm at when it comes to grading people. You got to look at Scout and be like, okay, this is how her game plays in this season, and then comparing it to other people. Like, I almost compare her to other people. Like, I don't think she played I think she's a mid, like Fallen Angel here, comparable to other Fallen Angels, because like literally some of those names you just listed off are like people I'm like, oh, they could have won. They did crazy stuff, but like Scout in this particular season is a good Fallen Angel though, because she literally was really connected to all these women and probably could have won because of that. You know what I mean? So like,
that's true.
It's very like, maybe she didn't play this glossy game, but she was very socially like interactive with the women.
That's true.
And the men at some capacity.
Yeah. How is Johnny Fairplay not in the top 3 of Fallen Angels?
I have him as 4th overall, so
yeah.
I'm a Johnny Fairplay, like a fan of his game and his season.
Like so. Rob deserves the number 1 of the people so far, and then like I think it's like Johnny Fairplay and Lex are like pretty close.
I agree.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I think Rudy got a little bit of like a nostalgia nod, and people love Rudy, so he's a little higher than maybe he should be.
It's crazy. People are just biased. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
people probably hate Johnny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I love Johnny, and we just had him on for Survivor What If, so everybody should go check out our interview with Johnny Fairplay. It's very good. But
yeah, I feel like I don't think she's top tier. I would agree. I'd have Lex, Rob, and Fairplay as like the absolute upper echelon, especially of where we are currently. Again, one thing that drops her down, the last thing she does in the game is just dumb. Chris sits her down and gives her an opening where asks her, "Did you have a final two with Twyla?"
Oh yeah.
And she says no, and Chris is like, "Oh, okay, like I can't believe you were just honest with me, but okay, I guess I'll vote you out then." Like if she lied to Chris there's a chance that he votes Twyla out and she could win the game. So that's, I don't know if her head just wasn't in it or she just didn't want to lie at that point, but that was kind of crazy to me. So I think I'd slot her in around, like, I think she's better than Jenna. Who was above Jenna?
Johnny Fairplay and then Jenna Lewis.
Oh yeah, so I'd put her above Jenna, but no higher.
Yeah. Scout ended up ranking at number 8. She is just above Jan and below Chef Keith. So
interesting.
Yeah. Apparently all the older women are getting knocked out.
Dang. Well, I love you, Scout.
Listen, I don't agree with some of these rankings when they get put there. I mean, I didn't have Scout that high. I had her on the lower end, but I think I definitely had Jan and Keith lower. So.
Yeah,
I think I put her pretty high. I can't remember my rankings, but I think I put her not like super high, but like up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting when you pull like so many different fans of Survivor, because like depending on who you're all just talking to, like you might have certain views, and then suddenly like someone will come in and they'll have the complete opposite opinion of what you have, and you're just like, holy shit! Like I didn't even think that that you could have something like that. But it's I know it's definitely interesting to hear these.
Yeah, we're looking at you, Kevin.
It makes a little more sense to me because in like the whole Survivor lore, I guess, like Vanuatu's normally not reflected highly. You know what I mean? So like it makes sense that people forget Scout more than often. You know what I mean? Whereas like we're all fans of this season, so we're more likely to remember a little more than the casual. And that's why people say like Chris is an underrated winner, because people don't reflect this season very highly. So
yeah.
We'll get there soon. All right, let's get to the final tribal council and we'll get to our finalist rankings. So Chris is completely bullshitting at Final Tribal, one of the greatest Final Tribal performances of all time.
Masterful.
So much that Scout even calls him out for bullshitting everything. But he basically confronts crying Julie and angry Eliza. It's just very, very funny. That he just completely point blank lies to Julie, and oh my god, in front of Jeff too. Jeff is not happy.
It's when he says, "I brought you your hat," with like tears in his eyes. I brought you your hat. Oh, you're such a good guy, Chris.
You have to bullshit though. Like Chris did it so well. You like, what is he gonna do? Be truthful? These women are just gonna hate him more.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And you mentioned earlier that he pushes Twyla as well to like I know Twyla's not going to take any shit, so I'm sure as hell not going to take any shit. Like really pushes Twyla to be Twyla.
Yeah, this is a flaw in Twyla's game and another boost to Chris's game. That he convinces her to just call people out on their shit at Final Tribal, and it's just not take shit from anybody. It's really good. So.
Can we mention Sarge's one as well?
Yes, that was what I was going to get to.
Like, I'm voting for Twyla, and where does that leave us at the races, Chris? It's like, it's so obvious he was bullshitting. Like, all Chris had to was like, our friendship is all that matters, you're my man.
Yeah, so let's talk about it, because Sarge tells Twyla, damn your son to hell, and all this other bullshit. Like, it's just really annoying that Sarge is that pissed over something that happened after he was out of the game. Like, it just... I don't know. I'm not the biggest Sarge fan because I think he's just really annoying in this end game, and so if that's anything to go by for our least favorite players, then so that might lead there. But
I'm cool with Sarge. I always am okay with a jury being emotionally like their way. Like when you get voted out, you have a right to be a little bitter. I always see it like. Maybe not compulsively bitter to a point where you're just belittling them at a tribal, but like if I don't want to vote for someone and they should win, but they voted me out and I feel like they did me wrong, I feel that's acceptable at some capacity.
Yeah. Also, I have a weird thing where I like Sarge because of the branch steals that Ryan and I do. We had a Sarge and Judge Sargents. They were a duo in a season, and it was the most hilarious thing I've ever seen in one of our. So, like, I just have like this weird, like, I just love him because of our branch steals.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm more on the Jake side of things. I think I really, really feel bad for Twyla in this final tribal. Like, she gets emotional. Like, she's genuinely like sorry, and it's like it's not that deep. She didn't. You'd think she'd done something horrific, and like Sarge especially like damning him to hell, and like, was it worth damning your son to hell? It's like, shut up.
Like, you were out of the game by this point, bro. Like,
you could be bitter about the game, but like, nah. Like, people were way too harsh on Twyla and really got her like upset. Like, she was genuinely flustered and really upset, and like, I don't like to say that.
Yeah,
I mean, how the cookie crumbles. Like, you get a certain attribute on the jury, like, and you say something, and that attribute triggers them. Like, it's just gonna unfortunately be wronged on you. And I also want to just note, this is like one of the only times both my favorite players ever make a goddamn finale.
Yeah,
like. Twyla and Chris at the start, when I first watched this, I'm like, I love both of them. Those are like my two people I want to go all the way. And they literally did. So it's like hilarious. Like, another reason why I might biasly like Vanuatu a little more. Like, just watched both my people get to the end and then get to verse each other is like sentimental to me.
Yeah, they're a great final two. So right before we get to our rankings for the finalists, we do have Jeff Probst skydiving in with the votes.
Oh my goodness.
Why doesn't he do that every season? It's the funniest thing.
This is the last one he ever does that. The cool entrances. Like, this is it. We're done.
Even out of ideas.
They cut
the budget. Serious that Survivor ever is. It's so funny. He's like macheteing through.
Yeah, because we got the jet ski in Amazon, and I guess the men versus women seasons, the first two, lead to the coolest entrances. So Jeff Probst skydives in. Chris wins 5-2 over Twyla. Chris immediately lets out an F-bomb on national television. So good. Let's get to our finalist rankings. So where our runner-up losing finalists stand. So right now it is Boston Robin All-Stars at number 1, Colby at 2, Kelly Wigglesworth at 3, Nalia 4, Kim Johnson 5, Lil at 6, Matthew Von Ertfeld at 7, and Clay Jordan in last. For me, I had Twyla very high. I had her 8th out of 81, and maybe that's a little too high, but she got so much shit for playing the game, and she was so good strategically that she was able to know the right time to flip on the women to solidify herself getting to the end. And yeah, was she not the greatest at challenges? Of course not. And obviously she shouldn't have bought into what Chris was selling her. And she obviously didn't have the greatest relationships with like Eliza and whatnot. So maybe this is a little too high. Maybe I should have her just outside like the top 10, but I really like Twyla. So that's why I have her super high.
I would have her high too. Maybe not top 10, maybe top 15, but her inability to relate to women is morally her downfall in this season. She just cannot. She can't get the girls on her side, obviously.
Yeah, I'd probably have her in like top 20, like somewhere around there is where I would probably have her.
Yeah, agreed. Michael?
Like of that list, I think she tops it with like at number 2 with Rob. Like
the first
of what we've got so far, I think she's like a top tier. I don't know where I'd have her overall because she does have some flaws, like in terms of being able to win the game and not relate to the women, like you said, Austin. But that's just what makes her Twyla. And I think she just improves over the years. I think there's so much appreciation for Twyla these days, and I love to see it.
Yeah, I think I'm really high on Twyla because again, she is herself, and like I think that's like the thing to appreciate about her. Like you said, Michael, like it's better than the people who don't act like themselves and who like bullshit constantly about it.
Like Chris.
Yeah.
That's the fault though. right?
Yeah.
He needed to bullshit a little bit to fit in with the
Very
women.
true.
Just
Very
couldn't.
true. So
I like if I was a ranker though, like the funny thing is the first 9, like a lot of those people that get dragged to the end are not the best players. Like mad play. Like Twyla's definitely like that's why I like the season also. Like you get an actual final 2 that in my opinion like actually played a game. Like it was actually a good fight.
yeah, I mean, out of everybody, I think I have her right under Boston Rob, like in terms of like I'm looking at just these first 9. So I even have her over Colby.
I still have Colby, I think, actually over her, just because I think Colby's win equity and chances are like always higher than Twyla's in any point of the game. Colby just makes a really bad decision at the end of the game.
Yeah, very true.
Colby wins, right? You know what I mean? Like if he doesn't make the stupidest decision right then there.
Yeah.
Or if he sucks up to Jerry.
Yeah.
So yeah, so shockingly, apparently people are just very low on Twyla. She's 6. She's just above Lil and under Kim Johnson, which is a little bit strange.
She should be higher than Kim Johnson, without a doubt.
Yeah,
who's
thinking?
Who's fifth?
Fifth is Kim Johnson from Africa.
And then who is 4th again?
Nalia from Marquesas.
I think she's higher than Nalia.
Yeah. So then it's Kelly Wigglesworth, Colby, and Boston Rob.
And I think Wigglesworth is also just the nostalgia pick. So again,
absolutely. I don't think Kelly was actually that great in Borneo in terms of like as an actual player, but
yeah,
we see you tribe of nerds rankers. We judge you.
Yeah,
justice for Twyla.
Yeah, so I'd say 3rd in that group of
easy
so
3rd.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we have to have her at 6th because of how everybody else ranked her. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, that's why we're setting her straight here, so that way we can make sure that we're on the right side of the accuracy here. So
true. All right, this is going to be the fun one. Let's talk about Chris Dougherty. So the winner rankings, as they stand right now, it is Richard Hatch at number 1, Sandra 1.0 from Pearl Islands at number 2, Tina at 3, Vesepia 4, Ethan at 5, Brian Heidick at 6, Jenna Maraska at 7, and Amber at 8. For Chris, I'm at 14th out of 48. I have him really as a really good player. I mean, he's just fantastic. I mean, again, one of the only winners that can bullshit their way to a win at Final Tribal. I don't think very many other winners have been able to do that really at all. And he was able to. And just like everything with how he's able to socially integrate himself with the women and get the guys to save him, like when he could have been a first boot. Like, I think Chris is a great player, even though Kevin's gonna disagree. So,
fuck you, Kevin.
I don't even care that he disagrees because like there's a fan base that just disagrees in general. Like.
Yeah.
You cannot convince me that a man who had 0 hold at the merge and just randomly gets to flip it is all due just because he was there. You know what I mean? Like,
right, exactly.
He did so much social work that he got the ability to flip there. That's why I'm just impressed with the game. Like, there's a lot of winners that it's not majorly relied on the social game. So, like, it's amazing to see.
Yeah. And where was Chris in that ranking?
It's not going to be high because I guarantee you Kevin put him last.
Yeah. So that was low. So that was without Chris. Do you got? So I can reveal where he is on this now. Chris Dougherty actually ended up in 3rd place.
Okay.
Ended up right under Sandra and above Tina. So
I cancelled out Kevin because I knew where he was going to rank him.
I'm pretty sure. I put him as maybe honestly top 5. Like he was up there very high for me.
Yeah, he deserves to be this high right now. I think the reason he's 14th is because then later winners came along and just kind of put him down a little bit, but he's still
there's definitely other gamers who did like more, so I agree because he's very majorly a social player at the end of the day.
Yeah,
and it's very difficult to rank like early era Survivor winners against what the show will become. And like they don't have to navigate all the craziness that other winners will go on to navigate. So it is difficult to kind of rank these early Euro winners.
Yeah, I think he played a better game than Sandra in Pearl Islands, and the reason I say this is, if you go back in Heroes versus Villains, people forgot who the fuck Sandra was. She like that's why she they just didn't know. They were like they didn't respect her win. It was a very oh, she just kind of won. Like, it was a popular season, but like people remembered it from Johnny Fairplay's Dead Grandma Live, from Rupert's. It was like a lot of things around Sandra that really made the season really big and popular. But then because of her winning Heroes vs. Villains, it made people go back and rate that game higher, because now it's Sandra, the 2-time winner.
Yeah, I mean, I had
check out
what were you gonna say?
Check out Jake's interview with Johnny Fairplay, because he very much talks about how much Sandra would be a footnote if he managed to get there. So I agree.
Yeah, Fairplay did acknowledge that that Sandra does not win against him. So no, I mean I have Sandra's Pearl Islands game. I think I said 23rd or something. So and like her Heroes versus Villains game. Like, I'm looking at her games individually. I have them on like the lower side, like mid to lower side. And like, because she's a 2-time winner, if I was doing like overall as a player, Sandra would be top.
She goes up because of the double wins, but if you rank them just individually, she has 2, in my opinion, like lower level wins, but because she's had 2 of them, her as a player is technically like a bigger threat. Yeah,
absolutely. So Chris is in the top 3 of the Survivor winner rankings.
Say it again, Jake. You listening, Kevin?
Top 3 of the Survivor winner rankings. Kevin sucks. Comment down below why Kevin is wrong. All right, season rankings now, and then favorite, least favorite, and then how this contributed to the evolution of the game, and we will be done. All right. So the season rankings we have right now, we have Pearl Islands at number 1, Borneo 2, Australian Outback 3, Marquesas 4, Amazon 5, Africa 6, All Stars 7, and Thailand is in last at 8th place. Not sure.
Where it will remain.
Yes.
It would be surprising if it ever changes. I'm going to be curious. Maybe there's like 1 or 2 seasons that might
we'll see. But for Vanuatu, I have it 25th out of 48, so I have it like in the middle. I think it's still a good season. I do think that pre-merge, like, it's kind of, not as good as when we get to the end game. And then that end game of Vanuatu is so fantastic. Like, everything with Chris's incredible journey to get to the end and demolishing the Women's Alliance. Like, it's so good. So that's definitely what gives Vanuatu a boost, but it is hurt by that pre-merge. So
yeah, I think I put it somewhere around like 17, 18. Like, I definitely really enjoy it. There's definitely better seasons as Survivor, but like, I don't mind watching the season if I have to go back and watch it.
I definitely have it in like the high mids also. Like, it's not, I would not put it in my top 10. It's definitely in the high middle though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think of these first 9 seasons, it's a standout. Like, obviously not as good as like a Pearl Islands or I guess like season 4 maybe. I don't know. Like, it's up there for me, but then it's something that gets overshadowed down the line, I think.
Yeah. Well, ready to see where Vanuatu ranks. Very, very interesting. Again, people seem to be lower on this. Surprisingly, Chris went higher. Vanuatu went lower. It is at 7th place above All Stars in Thailand.
Yeah, which I know why people did that, because it was a forgettable season for some people. Like, people just don't remember, so they just naturally in their ranking put it lower. But they're wrong. You got to go back and watch it.
It's better than Africa, so for Africa to be above it is shocking. But
this is how I always see it from a casual point, because my dad's a casual person and he also agrees that it's like he doesn't even remember the season at all. I think it's literally because there's like 3 actual flips in the entire season, and a lot of people are when there's a lot of flips at tribals and a lot of tensions at tribals, like, people start to remember that and like actual plays, whereas you just see the girls until like merge or like here, and then it just keeps going until it finally teetered one way, and then it just kept going that way. So I always see it like that. Like the casual person's like, "Oh, good job, Chris flipped," and respect Chris, but whatever.
Yeah, I also think a lot of like older seasons are remembered when you have returning players who have like well defined games that also continue. Like we have Eliza and Amy come back from here, but Amy goes out pre-merge. Eliza's just the really cool jury person who's making the big facial reactions. Like, that's what we now know her as, more so actually than her game of Vanuatu.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that I agree with that completely. Like, I feel like if they would have brought Eliza or Amy back more, or they would have brought other people back, then Vanuatu would have gotten more credibility in the eyes of the public. So,
and also because Jeff hated it, he never wanted to bring up and mention the season that much. So,
right,
a lot of people just. People forget about it. It's also after All Stars, which is like with this big, huge names, all the biggest names of the previous seasons, and then into this season, which starts off not great.
It's kind of sandwiched between All Stars and Palau, and like Palau's like another one of those seasons that people are really fond of and gave you some iconic characters as well. So it's like the little one in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately, because like there's so much promise with certain character, developments in this season. Like Rory, for example, would have been a nice addition to like a second type chance game, or like if they did one earlier, not where they obviously ended up doing it at what is it like 31?
Yeah,
like that's too late now. But like if they did one a little earlier, like that makes sense to include like a Rory, or like Julie is a great candidate at a point. Like Twyla and Chris both should have been candidates to come back at some point. Like it's a good season with the characters that actually like tried. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and Joe, you brought up Rory was supposed to be on Heroes versus Villains. I think he got replaced by Randy because him and Randy are similar because they both all wanted to burn down the camp.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and and
they're grumps.
Randy was the newest kind of guy too, so
recency bias.
The newest grump.
Yeah,
Randy.
We'll get to Randy eventually, but all right, perfect. So favorite and least favorite player. So my favorite man and favorite woman. So we'll continue with that. My favorite man, I was between Rory and Chris, and I'm going to go with Chris because Chris is just a fantastic character. His journey is so interesting and like carries the season because we get to see this thing happen that we've never seen happen before. So that's my pick for the men, and for the women, I was between Twyla and Amy. I'm going to go with Amy because I think Amy's just also so interesting being the Ice Queen and being like this dominant figure in how the game plays out, and then just losing it within the span of 2 rounds where she's been controlling it for almost the whole rest of the game up until that point. So
yeah, I think the men, it's the pool is so shallow for favorite player. Like it's just Chris that he's the best male on the cast, and then for the women there's some actual like options and choices. Like really loved Scout, really loved Amy. I'm gonna go with Twyla because I do think she's ahead of her time. And I think she maybe does a lot better in front of a jury in a later season. I think she was just she was screwed by the game not being ready for Twyla.
She was robbed for 50.
Yeah, I agree. Austin.
Oh, it's 100% Chris and Twyla. I mean, they were the two people I was rooting for since the beginning, my first watch. And just it never happens where they both get to the end and fight for their chance to win $1 million. So like I was just so invested in both of them. And I mean, honorable mention to Amy because I really love Amy too, but it's always Twyla and Chris for me.
Yeah. Joe?
Yeah. I'm gonna give it to Rory. You know what? He was carrying the first half of the season, in my opinion. Like he was doing everything. The season didn't want to be entertaining for a while. Rory said, "Hold my beer."
He's a grown-ass man.
So I'll give it to Rory, and then you know what? I want to give some love here to Eliza. I enjoyed her. I think when I was watching, I watched this when I was like 21, 22. So I also thought she was really cute. So I was like, I'm going to root for her. So yeah, I'll give it to Eliza.
Awesome. All right, least favorite man and woman. Man, I'm gonna go with Sarge. I think Sarge is just annoying at this final tribal, and like I wouldn't. I think I probably would have gone with a more boring, generic white man number 1 through 4. But I think I'll stick with Sarge because again, he just pissed me off with his treatment of Twyla, and so I'll go with him there. And then women, I'll probably go with like Mia because Mia was just like angry and like, you know, I think she was destined to be a pre-merge boot. I just don't think she was that interesting. So
I'm gonna try to go with a guy that made merge at least, because I feel like all the men kind of just got screwed except the other John. But I'll probably just go with Chad. I just never gave a shit about his storyline the entire time. And maybe the edit made it that way. He probably was a great person and all, but every time I'd watch one of his confessionals, every other episode, I'd just be like, "Oh, great to know you're still like hanging in there.
You're still alive."
I'm glad you're still on ground. But women, man, I would probably definitely pick Mia if I was gonna pick a pre-merger. I'd probably go with Leanne though. I just always forget she's even there also.
Wow.
Again, probably the edit for me, but I'm just like, whatever. She's just Amy's second hand, and I never usually like the second hand people personally.
I think Leanne's underrated. I think it's also just the edits and positioning and where she gets taken out is unfortunate for her in her gameplay. I'm just gonna keep it with the generic guy. I guess I'll go with Brady. You know, he did something cool in episode 1 of I guess of the thing, but but then like I mean, there's nothing really of substance after that. And then I do think like the girls is pretty tough. I actually don't mind any of them too much. Maybe I go Lisa, but that's not even like I disliked her. It's just like I guess I'll say her.
That works.
Yeah,
Michael, that's the thing with the girls, man. Like they all were so diverse and interesting. Like it's hard to rank these ones.
Yeah, Michael.
Yeah, I'm in the same position. I can't really think of a female player that I disliked. I'll say Mia because if I'm honest, I can't remember who she is. So I guess she wasn't memorable. I have no recollection of Mia. She is MIA.
That works.
And the guy, Sarge. I liked Sarge, but I just think, you know what? I'm not going to say Sarge because I appreciate the funny moment of him and Julie sunbathing naked together. That was fun. I'll go with whichever John it was that just didn't care enough to put any effort in, even though he was in a bad position. Yeah, and he was just lazy around camp. It's like, you're at the bottom. At least try. At least put some effort in.
Yeah, that's true.
So funny.
All right. Well, that is that. So last question. How did this season contribute to the evolution of Survivor as we know it?
It didn't. Bye, everyone.
This is the first real dominant female alliance that would then later scare future players and make it where females can't just run the game unless we have another one world situation where like it is men women again.
True.
Yeah, I think Amy unintentionally set back the Women's Alliance by like a good decade until the Black Widows were able to pull it together. I think that is the contribution of like, you know, the powerful, the original Black Widows alliance, I guess, that very nearly completely decimates the season. It's like one guy that survives.
They were so close to completing their goal. So close.
They should have just done it.
Yeah.
But
I'm interested to see, like, how do you think this season is remembered if Chris does go there? And this is the season where, like, the final 6 or 7 is just all women.
I have a feeling that the casual audience would like it better, even though I think it's more interesting. Chris makes the run. I feel like the casual audience, because I think we'd get an Amy win most likely. I think people would go, Amy played this amazing game, best woman winner we've ever had, and she did it in season 9. top tier season. Like, I think that's probably what the casual audience would come away from it.
The Twitter stands would have been so happy.
Yeah.
I think they would call her mother.
Yeah, they would call
Oh,
her. Yeah, Austin.
I mean, evolution-wise, I think this season really showcased how important a social game can be, and it's kind of why like Tom is so awesome in the next season, right? Like, Chris really benefits from like if you actually watch the actual season, like episode per episode, you always get tidbits of Chris maintaining or trying to maintain relationships with anyone. So like I think it really shows that it's a season where you might not be winning the entire time, you might not be at the top, but you can win this game if you really put a lot of effort into being on the bottom.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with what you guys said. I do think like the Women's Alliance, I think it's showing that has the possibility that it can be done. That I think that's going to factor in, obviously, for Micronesia and then for One World. I also just think, again, it's like we've had, like I said, 3 seasons where the power shifted constantly, or at least shifted like once in a major way. And I feel like that's another time that it does this. And it's showing like it's possible for an underdog to come in and win. And I mean, we're going to technically see it again 2 seasons later with Danny Boatwright, where like someone who's completely outnumbered does end up making it to the end and winning. So
that's an underdog because I forgot she was even there.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, I do think that it sets the table for that, and for, you know, anybody can win even if you're in such a bad situation. So I guess those are the 2 things I definitely think the season brings to the history of Survivor. Cool. All right. That is Vanuatu, everyone. Next week, we do have Jonathan and I covering Survivor Palau. So we're going to talk about Tom Westman, one of my favorite winners. We're going to talk about Stephanie, Bobby John going crazy and being a spaz, Ulan going down to just Stephanie.
I was supposed to be on Palau, but I can't make it anymore. So I'd just like to say one thing because I've just finished watching it. Tom Westman is 5 years older than me in Palau. What the fuck is that? Tom.
He's a silver fox at 40 years old.
It blew my mind. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. I think I've told my dad that, and my dad can't believe it either. He's like, Tom was 40. But yeah, no, I'm excited to talk about Tom and, you know, everybody else there. I think there's some other fun players, underrated players. You get Kobe, you get Greg, you get some other fun people. Then you also get the first Survivor Karen, literally,
but not spelled the same.
You know, not spelled the way you would normally think. And we also get to talk about Jonathan and Wanda not making it in, and the hidden, or the immunity Willard.
Yes, and the crazy eyes of Janu.
Yes, yeah. We'll talk about all that, and also see where Ian ranks as well as a fallen angel, because I think people rank Ian pretty highly. So we'll talk about that. But yeah, subscribe, like, share, comment, every one of those things. Tune in for Survivor 1 through 50. Turn in for What If, as we've said repeatedly. Go check out Johnny Fairplay's interview. Tina, we also have. So go check those out. Go check out our Lost content. Go check out anytime we have Marvel movies or any of that. And obviously, Austin, Joe, and I will be playing Pokemon with Ryan in a couple weeks.
And I'm gonna catch a Pidgey. Let's go.
No.
And I'm never evolving it.
Oh my God, Ryan's gonna kill you.
Yeah. And I hope he gets a legendary attached to my Pidgey. That is the dream.
Yes, I'd laugh so hard. All right, well, tune in for all that, and we'll see you all next time on the Tribe of Nerds.